There are over 28 million bike users all over Britain, pushing bicycle sales to more than £745 million. But the number of bike robberies is just as staggering. Former Metropolitan Police Inspector Keith Farquharson is helping us with our investigation.
Last year, almost 400,000 bikes were stolen across the UK, often in broad daylight. This is a really serious problem.
Across the UK, there are hotspots in university towns like Oxford, Cambridge and Southampton. But London has the highest bike theft figure of them all.
There are three types of cycle thieves: those that steal for joyriding, those that steal for cash or drugs, and those that steal to order. These are usually gangs.
Once a bicycle is stolen, it often disappears into the criminal underworld.
They can be sold on the streets or on websites like eBay or Gumtree, and can be sold in excess of £250.
Police recommend that we should all take careful note of bicycle frame numbers, which are usually printed on the underside of every frame, as a good way to track stolen bikes. Another way to detect stolen property is to use a GPS tracking device, like this.
The device can figure out its location. It can come up with a set of numbers that enable you to plot its position on a map and display that map on a computer screen. It does that by using GPS, the Global Positioning System. The basis of that technology is this device can make range measurements from here to satellites orbiting in space. Those satellites might be 20,000 kilometers away. Now, this device can be stripped down and made much smaller, so you could fit it into something like, for example, a bicycle seat. And that way you can keep track of where your bike is.
We're fitting our tracker right inside the saddle to make it invisible to a potential thief, though it could make for an uncomfortable ride. Fixing one underneath the saddle would give an equally good tracking fix. We're testing this GPS technology on not one, but two bikes. Both will be placed under our surveillance on the streets of East London, in an area with a high bicycle theft rate.
We chose to run this scenario between the boroughs of Newham and Tower Hamlets, which have a combined total of 1,600 bike thefts in the last year. You don't want to park your bike here unless it's got a very, very good lock.
So where are we going to put our bikes? Well, Bike 1 will be chained to a lamppost in this alleyway off the Letter Grove, a busy cut-through that leads to Plaistow Underground Station. Bike 2 will be a few streets away, chained to these park railings. Our objective isn't to confront thieves. We just want to see what happens to our bikes once they're stolen by following their trails. They will be fixed in place with heavy-duty locks. They will not be unattended, as our team will be observing from close by. We'll return to Bike 2 shortly. Bike 1 has been chained up for a while now. No surprise that it attracts a little more attention as the evening draws in. Here comes three lads. Let's see if they're interested. No. Oh, hold on. Our bike has definitely caught his eye. And here he is again, scoping out the bike. He's probably checking the type of lock we've used and looking for CCTV cameras. Thankfully, he didn't see ours. Now he's sure the coast is clear, he's going for it. He's fiddling with the chain, trying to force the lock. Good thing we used a heavy-duty one. But he won't give up. Unfortunately, our cameras ran out of power at this point. We missed the moment when he stole the bike. All is not lost, though, because the tracker is working well and we have a signal as it heads off. We'll monitor that bike's progress. But what about Bike 2? Well, it's had a checkered history. When we first put it out, it was targeted right away. Watch these well-prepared, sneaky bike thieves who seem to have taken a shine to it.
The thief obviously knows what he's looking for. He's got the spanner, he's loosened the wheels, got somebody else to help him. They've obviously taken those on for sale, either by website or to take them onto a second-hand shop. stolen them very, very quickly. Bike wheels are often taken just on their own. Usually they're not padlocked up with the rest of the bike. They're very easy pickings, and they're very easy to sell on, either to bike shops, second-hand shops, or on the websites eBay or Gumtree. And you can usually pick up easily £20 for a set.
So we bought a new set of wheels and put it out again. A few days go by. One Saturday afternoon, here's bike number 2 with its new wheels chained to the park railings. No interest to speak of. But suddenly, there's a rise in footfall. Mostly men, all going in the same direction. By the sound of it, they're football fans, possibly heading to a game. Wow, he's just ripped it off. Look at that. He's grabbed it and the lock's given way. And after some encouragement from his mates, he's off. Later on Thief Trackers, we'll see where our 2 bikes end up.
The thief was either arranging for onward transport to the handler or to try to sell it on to an honest bona fide buyer.
90 to 100,000 bike thefts are reported to the police each year in the UK. Even so, they are not our most stolen items. That position is held by phones, around 300,000 each year. They often end up in second-hand shops, on market stalls, and even at recycling companies. But a significant number are sold via the internet. Buyers are tempted by the great value, but soon discover there's a sting in the tail.
The thieves have ruined my 18th birthday completely.
I was worried I wasn't going to get refunded, and I couldn't afford anything for 18th. I was devastated.
Meanwhile, the original owners must cope with the stress of a theft, the sense of violation, and the need to be vigilant in the future. Sunderland in northeast England is home to Marie Martin, a hard-working mum whose daughter Shawnee celebrated her 18th birthday early in 2015.
I asked her what she wanted, if there was anything special she wanted, and she asked for an iPhone 6.
Because I'd had one for 2 years, it was been smashed and everything, so I just wanted to upgrade.
When my daughter come in, she asked if it arrived, and I told her it had, and she just begged me all day to give her it. You know, it was 2 weeks early, but in the end I gave in.
I was over the moon.
But when they tried to set up the phone, they got a nasty surprise.
We charged it up and we switched it on, and I tried to log into my iTunes account and it wouldn't let us in. And when we plugged it in the computer to see if we could do it that way, it come up that it was a stolen phone.
And a message come up with the number of the previous owner.
I was gutted, absolutely gutted.
18 is a very special birthday. Seeing her smile on her face and then having to take it away was, yeah, it was horrible.
The thieves have ruined my 18th birthday completely. My mum was absolutely devastated that she'd pulled out all that money for my 18th birthday just to make it special, and I couldn't enjoy the present that she'd getting us.
I was really angry, really angry.
Marie's first thought was to find out what had happened.
I emailed the seller. I told him that this phone is stolen. I believe the seller knew it was stolen. He sounded worried in his emails. All he was interested in was getting that phone back to him. When I didn't answer him, he would send another one and another one. So I do believe he knew it was stolen.
But she's a lot smarter than that and had other plans.
I was able to track the owner of the phone through the number left on the screen. When I phoned the owner, I said to her, "Do you know anything about an iPhone 6? And straight away she told me that hers had been stolen. She was screaming down the phone, "Thank you, thank you."
The phone was stolen in London in December 2014. Extraordinary that it should have ended up in the northeast, a journey of around 300 miles. The theft victim was so traumatised by the experience that she asked to remain anonymous, so we'll call her Jane. She'd been out partying in London and at around 9 p.m. was on her way home to southeast London on a train out of Charing Cross.
I took the 9:30 train. By around 10 o'clock, I was at Westcombe Park Station. I was using my phone, just texting my friend. And when the doors opened, I saw a guy come in. He sort of leaned over where I was sat, so I was sat sort of by the door. He encroached my personal space, so I obviously leaned away. And then it's almost like in slow motion, his hand sort of took my phone. And then just before the door closed, ran off. A lot of people witnessed this, so everyone in the carriage sort of saw what happened. They told me what to do, because at that point I was just panicking. Fortunately, I had my work phone with me, so I phoned the police, got home, bawled my eyes out. From there, it was the police investigation. Initially, I was just surprised. I couldn't believe that it happened. I mean, I was on the train. After the incident happened, I became distrustful and a lot more cautious. At the very beginning, the thought of taking a train late at night would cause me severe distress.
Luckily for Jane, her phone was safe in Marie's hands, and Marie knew just the right thing to do.
I was very grateful, very elated. If she wasn't standing in front of me, I'd have given her a big hug and taken her out for dinner. She could have hidden the phone away or reset it or not told me. To give up what would effectively be an 18th birthday present for someone very special to you, your daughter, is amazing on her end. She must have a special heart, and I am just terribly grateful.
Not only did Marie reunite Jane with her phone, but she helped to nail the smartphone vendor once she passed the information about his auction account to the police.
Obviously, all his details are on there, name, address, everything. The thief, to me, is just low life. Just no good.
Justice was done. The seller was tracked down and eventually sent down. Since her ordeal, Jane is now more mindful of her surroundings.
Be wary of strangers behind you, in front of you, beside you. It can come from anywhere and from anyone. Thieves will try to always be one step ahead of you.
In this case, Jane was one step ahead of the crook. By reporting the theft to her phone supplier, they were able to block the phone and display a message to inform future innocent buyers that the phone had been stolen. We consumers can help in the fight against phone theft by enabling any inbuilt tracking apps and keeping a record of phone serial numbers and IMEI numbers so that stolen handsets can be blocked. Always alert the police with these details so that they can tackle thieves on our behalf. Let's return to our undercover surveillance operation and a story of thief tracking in a city with a high crime rate. Earlier on, we fitted 2 bicycles with GPS trackers. We chained the bikes up in 2 separate areas of East London. A would-be thief tampered with bike 1 before it was stolen, while bike 2 was pulled from the railings by football fans and ridden off. Random acts of robbery like this can leave victims feeling violated and nervous. Ash Morin's bicycle was stolen in early 2015, right outside a cycle shop.
We tied both our bikes with 2 cycle locks, and we went into the store, spent less than 5 minutes, and as we got out of the store, I realized, where are the bikes? We started getting frantic at that moment because there was no bike outside there. So I was really upset. The locks were thoroughly slashed. I mean, it was not like a knife or a chopper or something. It was like something really hard, just like a bolt cutter. In 5 minutes, it's just gone. I was really devastated.
When Ash went home, she had the bright idea of trying to track down her bike on internet auction sites.
There it was, it popped up on screen. It was like over the moon. We're like, that's our bike. Oh my God, that's our bike. What do we do? What do we do?
Ash contacted the police, who took up the investigation. Amazingly, they tracked down her bike to an innocent buyer 400 miles away in Scotland.
I was quite shocked how far my bike went. My bicycle went to ride in Scotland before me. I did not get to ride in Scotland yet.
It's unlikely that our 2 stolen bikes will have travelled that far, but where have they gone? Our built-in GPS trackers soon revealed the routes along which they were trafficked. Let's take a look at bike number 1. The tracking data shows the thief cycling north, taking a meandering route, and then heading back south, coming to a halt half an hour later. Keith is on the trail.
The data shows that the bike moved to the Dickens Road area, which is approximately 2 miles away from the original site of the theft.
We decided to sit tight to wait and see what the thief's next move might be.
My guess is that the thief was either arranging for onward transport to the handler or to try to sell it on to an honest bona fide buyer.
Our patience paid off. 4 days later, the tracker suddenly signalled again. We tracked it for 5 miles, out into Essex, where it came to rest on Staines Road in Ilford.
And it could be in one of 2 properties, but the GPS isn't quite accurate enough to be able to pinpoint which particular property the signal is coming from. The signal remains constant for the next 2 weeks. My guess is that it's been sold to an honest member of the public.
We approached both properties to see if they knew anything about our bike. One is owned by an elderly resident with no knowledge of its whereabouts. The other house is occupied by students. We informed them that our stolen bike was fitted with a tracker that led us to their door, but they were not interested and chose not to appear on camera. All we could do was leave the matter in their hands. So what about our second stolen bike? First, it had its wheels pinched. Then, with a new set of wheels, it was dragged from the railings by this park.
One lad pulls on the bike and the chain breaks surprisingly easy, considering the amount of force he used on it. However, this doesn't excuse the theft of the cycle.
The tracking data shows that it made its way around the local streets for a good few minutes.
The bike ends up at the rear of a pub. It's a constant signal for the next 2 weeks. However, the signal then stops. The bike might still be there.
For legal reasons, we can't name the pub, but we spoke to the manager and showed him a photo of our missing bike. He didn't want to be identified and said he had no knowledge whatsoever of the bike ever being there.
What a waste of a bike, just for the whim of some lad that decided to pick it up, ride it to the pub and dump it there. There's no accounting for some people.
So our 2 bikes were stolen. One was taken to Essex and is probably in the ownership of an innocent buyer. The other was held at a pub within 15 minutes walk of the theft site. One thing's for sure, we have clear footage of the bike thieves in action and the authorities are welcome to take a look. Thieves often strike where their victims least expect it. This is the village of Iver in Buckinghamshire, which turned out to be the scene of a devious roadside robbery.
Our initial reaction is, time being of the essence, how quickly can we try and recover that roller?
The thieves had a head start, and tracking them turned into a race against time.
So that's the opportunity to start stripping assets down.
Thanks to modern tracking technology, the police closed in on the crooks during a ham-fisted getaway attempt.
I can only equate it to a child trying to stick the triangle shape through a circle and make it fit.
This company supplies heavy plant machinery all over the UK, the kind of vehicles you'd see trundling around at your local roadworks, and they don't come cheap.
In the company as a whole, we have about 1,000 rollers. They range in price. The small ones, which average about 1 tonne, they cost about £10,000, right up to 20 tonne, which can be as much as £80,000.
A motherlode of temptation for organised crime gangs intent on stealing high-value vehicles to sell on at maximum profit, often overseas.
We suffer between 25 and 50 thefts in any 1 year. The rollers tend to sit at the side of the road until the job is complete, so it is a bit susceptible to being stolen.
More than 2,000 of these big machines are stolen each year, costing hard-working businesses an estimated £1 million a week. That's why plant hire firms look to setups like Gary Stockton's tracking company to help recover their assets at home and abroad.
We've tracked them across to Poland, to Hungary, to Bulgaria in the past. They're used for tarmacking your drive in the middle of the summer to some poor unsuspecting old age pensioners and what have you. And some of them are just actually stripped down, sold for parts.
Certain areas of the UK that are the more high risk, and we tend to suffer more losses than other parts of the country.
With millions of pounds worth of stock at the mercy of roadside robbers, David's company had all their diggers and rollers fitted with high-tech trackers.
This has integrated RF, GPS and cell site positioning. We're not at liberty to actually discuss the places where we do install them. However, they actually have to totally strip and find the actual unit to remove it.
Their tracking technology was put to the test in February 2015, when a gang of thieves spotted a roller working on Ivor Road, just outside the village.
They obviously knew what they were looking for. They knew how to start the machine. They were obviously organised in what they were doing.
The brazen thieves were undeterred by the size of the machine, worth £19,000. They loaded their 3-ton treasure into a transit van before heading west with it, unaware that their every move was being signalled by the tracker. This ought to have been a simple recovery mission, but when the robbery was reported, the tracking company staff had a surprise.
Whilst we interrogated the data, we did notice it had been moved 2 days previously. So that gives the thief the opportunity to start stripping assets down.
That 48-hour head start meant that Gary and his team had to act fast to recover the roller in one piece. From the tracking data, they were able to look back over the previous 2 days and work out where the roller had been.
It travelled 2 miles here to this residential area here, where we suspected that the criminals were lying in observation. They put it somewhere to see if it's hot or whether it can cool off.
At this point, the theft still hadn't been discovered. So thinking the roller was cool, the gang took it to what they thought would be a safe hideout. The following morning, the robbery was reported and the tracking team picked up the trail.
It was actually moved to this industrial area here. It's here that we lost its last GPS position because it was actually put inside a container.
That didn't stop the trackers, who had other ways of pinpointing the roller's location.
We actually switch on an RF locator beacon, which we can track down with a physical wand.
Once the tracker's RF beacon had been activated, the tracking team went to the industrial park to pick up its trail using this RF wand.
This is very, very accurate down to 1 metre. We have actually tracked things down where they've actually been buried underground. On this occasion, we verified it and we was able to identify which unit from an RF point of view.
Now they knew where the roller was hidden, it was time to call in the police. PC Phil Thompson was on duty when the call came in.
I heard the transmissions over the radio that the roads policing car was tracking stolen road roller, and it was here in the village.
He joined his colleagues in the search for the roller down at the industrial estate, but they hit a snag.
We had no power to enter without a search warrant to enter the various parts to try and find it. So we had a discussion back here as to how we were going to approach it until we had another call after the roads policing unit had left the yards that whoever was in there with the road roller knew that we were there looking.
Thinking the police were closing in at the yard, the thieves decided to move the roller again.
My feeling at this time was, oh dear, are they going to get away with it? But again, the tracker was still intact. We were still receiving a signal.
And that was the undoing of the thieves.
Moving the roller out of the container allowed the GPS element of the tracker to send signals again. These were picked up by Gary's team.
It moved a further 2 miles from the industrial unit to a very secluded leafy lane, which is here.
It must have been hard to look inconspicuous transporting a big yellow road roller around a quiet country village. And it was only a matter of time before suspicions were raised and a local resident informed the hire company.
They're quite a close community and they're very aware when something's not right.
It's not the sort of occurrence that happens every day, therefore they notified the client. By that time we had already notified the police, notified the client, and they were sending a recovery crew to this area.
Knowing the police were on their trail, it seems the robbers panicked as they tried to move the roller.
It was quite comical the way it was found. It was hanging off the ramp, they'd missed. I can only equate it to a child trying to stick the triangle shape through a circle and make it fit. They must have had quite a few attempts, to the extent where the neighbours noticed and called us, and then they gave up and left both vehicles.
This particular find, it was 5 hours in total from being notified. We've actually tracked a device for a number of days, weeks, even months sometimes, and then we've always actually recovered the asset in the end.
It's a shame we didn't get to catch the people involved, but I'm sure that we'll meet again in the future.
Another victory for the trackers. However, the hire company are trying to remain realistic.
It's very much a game of a cat and mouse at the moment, and I'd say at the present time we are very much the winners, but as with everything in life, you cannot be complacent.